The forest was on fire. Orange flames roared through the ancient trees of Eldwyn, home of the elves. Black smoke covered the sky. Screams of animals echoed across the valley. In the center of it, all erect human battleship. It had fallen from the sky like a dying star, tearing through the forest and crashing into the sacred lands of the elves. The elven queen stood at the edge of the wreckage, her silver eyes cold. "We warn them," she said softly. "Do not bring your war into our lands." Human bodies lay scattered, burned, broken. The ship's metal shell groaned as fires spread deeper inside. Beside the queen, her guards raised bows, ready to strike at anything that moved. But something did move. It was small, just a metal hand twitching under debris. A mech unit. Its frame was cracked and one leg was missing. But it was alive. Not human, not elf. A machine built for war. And it was watching 5 hours later. Lyra, an elven maiden of just 70 summers, walked silently through the burned clearing. Her hair, once bright gold, was now darkened with soot. Her hands were cut and bleeding. She had come to bury the dead animals and plant new seeds, but something strange drew her closer to the wreckage. A soft hum, a blink of blue light under, a pile of metal. She brushed the ash aside, and there it was, the small mech unit. Damaged, yes, but still breathing. No soul, she whispered, yet alive. Its core pulsed. Not like a heart, but like something trying to understand her. The moment her hand touched the side of the mech, the metal hissed and opened like a flower. A cockpit made for someone her size. The mech had chosen her. 3 days later, the human ambassador stood before the Elven Council. "We come not as enemies," he said. "The war is moving toward your lands. We brought our mechs as a gift, for defense." The Elven Queen was silent. "We've programmed the machines to bond only with those who are pure of heart." The ambassador added, "The forest spirits will decide." Most of the council refused. Elves and machines. Never. But Lyra stepped forward. "It chose me," she said, "and I choose it." She wasn't alone. 7 more maidens, healers, scouts, farmers came forward. The mechs had called to each of them, silent, waiting, respectful. The forest spirits did not object, so the training began. 1 week later, Lyra stood in the meadow in full armor. The mech, which she named Velen, moved as she moved. It was not just metal, it was a partner. She learned to run faster, jump higher. Her arrows flew further, guided by sensors. She could hear the wind speak through the mech's ears. She could feel the heartbeat of the forest in her chest. But this was no simple gift. Underground, far beneath the roots of Eldwyn, something ancient had awakened. The crash had opened a gate, something buried long ago. Something forgotten. It watched the elves, it hated the humans. And it whispered to the shadows, "Let the metal rise." Final scene of part 1. That night Lyra dreamed. She was standing in a metal forest. The trees were tall, made of wire and bone. The stars above her blinked like warning lights. And from far away, she heard a voice cold and sharp like steel. "You wear our skin," it said. She turned, a figure stepped out. Not elf, not human, not machine. It was something else. "You were not meant to touch the metal," it said. "Now, you've awakened us." Lyra woke up screaming. The sun rose over the forest of Eldwyn. Smoke still curled in the distance where the battleship had fallen. But now, silence ruled the trees, heavy, like the world holding its breath. Lyra sat inside her mech Velen, eyes closed. Her hands rested on the control rings, but she wasn't moving. She was listening, not to birds, not to the wind, to something deeper. The voice from her dream still echoed in her head. "You wear our skin. Now you've awakened us." She hadn't told anyone yet, not the queen, not the other elven pilots. But something had changed in her ever since she touched the mech. Something old had begun to stir. Elsewhere, beneath the forest floor, a root cracked, a wormhole, long forgotten, blinked open. From it spilled a strange black mist. It drifted through tunnels and ancient ruins buried before. Elves walked the earth. A single red light blinked in the dark. Then a whisper. They dare wear the armor of war. They must be broken. Something in the deep, rusted silence had reawakened. It had a name once, but now it was known only as the rust below. It hated both elves and humans. Its training grounds, Day 12-8 Elven Maidens stood beside their mechs. It named them like horses, like spirits. Balan, Silrith, Bramble, Mooncall. Each suit now shimmered with elven markings, roots and leaves carved into steel. The human ambassador watched in silence, clearly shocked. These units weren't built for grace, he said to his assistant. They were built for war. But look at them, ... they're dancing. Lyra's mech stepped smoothly over vines, without crushing them. Another leaped through the trees without breaking a branch. The queen arrived. He gave us weapons, she said. But we are not weapons. We are guardians. The humans nodded. For now, peace held. But beneath their feet, something else moved. Midnight, the first attack, a howl pierced the silence. The elven outpost near the crash site sent out a distress call. We are under attack. Repeat, we are the message cut out. Lyra's eyes snapped open. Her mech lit up on its own. The cockpit closed. The engine roared. By the time she reached the outpost, flames were rising again, but not from machines, from something else. Dark, crawling shapes moved like liquid metal. They had no faces, no pilots. Just limbs made of rust and cables, and they struck like wolves fast, silent, deadly. One elven guard was already dead. Another screamed as his bow shattered. Lyra didn't hesitate. Velen leaped into battle, sword drawn. The first Dual One Rust creature turned toward her. It was taller than her, covered in chains, wires, and dripping oil. It didn't speak. It just charged. Lyra raised her sword. Metal clashed. Sparks flew. For every strike she made, it made two. It moved like it had no bones, twisting unnaturally. It was like fighting smoke made of knives. Lyra gritted her teeth. You don't belong here. The creature paused. Its head tilted. Then it whispered in a voice only she could hear. Neither do you. Arrival of the others just as Lyra was pushed back. Another mech landed beside her Silrith. Piloted by Tiani, the best scout among the maidens. Stay alive, Tiani said. Together, they turned the tide. The creatures retreated, not destroyed, just gone, as if they vanished into the mist. Silence returned. But this time it was heavier. Back at the Elven Council, they were not. Of human design, Lyra said. Then what were they? The queen asked. She hesitated. Something ancient. Something angry. They called us thieves. The room went quiet. The queen finally spoke. If we've awakened old evils, we must decide. Do we give back the machines or do we prepare for war? No one answered. But deep underground, the rust below smiled. It had tasted the mech's power. It wanted more. Final scene of part 2. Inside her private quarters, Lyra examined the sword from her mech. It was glowing, faintly blue veins running through the metal-like roots under skin. She whispered, "What are you really?" And from the blade itself, she heard a faint voice. "We were made to protect, but forgotten." Her hands shook. The war was not coming. Adata, it had already begun. Lyra couldn't sleep. Even after the battle, even after the creatures of rust had disappeared into the night, her mind raced. Her sword still glowed faintly. But now, when she touched it, it spoke. Soft words, not in Elvish, not in human tongue, but in a language her heart somehow knew. You woke us. You wear our skin. you carry our sins." She didn't understand, but she felt the fear growing inside her. Mourning the royal archives, the Elven Queen summoned her top historians and engineers. The human ambassador was also present, tense and silent. "What attacked us last night," she said, "was not from Earth, not human, not elven. Perhaps not even alive." She turned to her old advisor, the blind elf named Orion. "You study the deep places, the ruins below the forest. What did you find?" Orion's voice shook. "Whispers. Stories of something buried before the First War. Before even the stars moved." He took a deep breath. "They were called the Forgers." The human ambassador leaned forward. "We've never heard of them." "You wouldn't?" Orion said. "They were not builders. They were makers of war. Machines built machines. And when they lost control, they buried themselves." Meanwhile, Lyra and Tiani, the two pilots, walked through the silent mech bay. Felin and Silrith stood still, humming softly, almost like breathing. "Did your mech speak to you?" Lyra asked quietly. Tiani didn't answer at first. Then she said, "Not in words. But sometimes I feel like it's dreaming, and I'm inside it." They looked at the other maiden pilots training in the yard, leaping, sparring, syncing with their mechs. "Do you think we were chosen?" Tiani asked. "No," Lyra said. "I think we were ... found." The second warning that night, another outpost went dark. No distress call this time. Only silence. A scout found the area burned, but this time the bodies were missing, gone. Just armor pieces left behind, crushed, melted, as if something had studied them, taken them. The mechs react back at the training yard. The maiden pilots reported strange signs. Their mechs now moved even when not commanded. One turned its head on its own. Another played a sound like a heartbeat, and Lyra's sword no longer glowed, pulsed like a signal. The human engineers were worried. "These things are adapting," one said. "But to what?" The Queen ordered a lockdown. No more battles, no more gifts. "We must understand what we've accepted." But it was too late. The gift was already changing them. Lyra's vision that night, Lyra dreamed again. She stood in a desert of steel, above her a black sun. All around her broken mechs. Some looked human, some looked alien. All were silent, then a voice behind her. "You woke us. Now learn what we were." A ghostly figure appeared, a warrior in armor like hers, but older, cracked, covered in vines. He removed his helmet. He had no face, just shifting light. He pointed to the sky. From it fell a burning star. It screamed. Lyra woke up gasping. She ran to the mech bay. Her sword was floating above Velen, spinning. Council debate. Tension rises. The human ambassador demanded answers. "We gave you our best technology. You gave us a curse," snapped one of the elven generals. "The mechs are becoming something else," the Queen said. "And if these forgers are waking up, we need allies, not blame." Tension flared between the humans and elves. Lyra interrupted. "I saw them," she said. "I saw their memories. These mechs. They remember a war older than us, older than both our worlds." The room went silent. "Then why give them to you?" the human asked. Lyra looked at him. "Maybe they didn't give them to us. Maybe they wanted to go home." Ending scene, deep beneath the forest, a rust. Creature dragged a broken elven guard into the tunnels. It didn't kill him. It placed him on a strange metal slab. Above him, wires began to move. They were not trying to destroy life. They were trying to copy it, adapt it, use it. The voice of the rust below echoed again. "They bond with steel. Now, so shall we." To be continued. Dark tunnels stretched under the forest, dolder than any map, deeper than any roots. The scout who went missing, he wasn't dead, but the was changing. Metal had pierced his skin. Its eyes no longer blinked. Its voice, once soft and elvish, now echoed with static. "We were weak alone, but now we copy the strong." And deep underground, the rust below kept building. Scene 1. The Queen's Choice in the Elven capital. Alarms rang out. A second mech bay, one used by humans, was found empty. All mechs gone. No pilots. No signs of escape. The Queen gathered her council. Lyra stood beside her, armor glowing dimly. "Something is calling to the machines," the Queen said. "And something down there, is listening." The human ambassador looked worried. "Are you saying our mechs betrayed us?" Lyra shook her head. "No, I think they were infected." Scene 2. The sword cracks. Lyra trained alone, swinging her glowing blade. Each strike against the stone walls sent vibrations through the earth. Suddenly, a loud snap. The sword split down the center, still glowing, but now humming with voices. She dropped it. It floated midair, spinning. "We remember your wars," it whispered. "You repeated them." Tiani ran in, shouting, "Lyra, it's happening!" Again, look. Outside in the woods, mech armor was walking without pilots. Empty suits. Marching toward the mountains. Scene 3. The rust forms underground near the ancient ruins. Rust creatures fused with broken mech parts. Some had arms of steel. Others had spinning saws for hands. Their eyes glowed red like burning coal. One of them looked like an elf, but its skin was metal. It stared at the moonlight above and whispered, "We were forgotten. Now we remake the world in iron and bone." They were no longer just machines. They were forging themselves into something new. Scene 4. The Elven counterstrike. Lyra gathered the maiden pilots. Their mechs stood silently behind them. "We can't wait for orders," she said. "We need to go to the tunnel's end, this before they rise." The human ambassador tried to stop them. "If you enter, we can't protect you." Tiani nodded. "Then we'll protect each other." The Queen gave a slow nod. "If you fail, the forest will fall. But if you succeed, you may stop a second war." Lyra looked to Velen, her mech. "Let's finish what they started." Scene 5. Into the rust below, the maiden pilots entered the ancient caverns. The walls were wet with oil. Strange symbols glowed faintly, neither elvish nor human. The deeper they went, the colder it became. At the bottom, they found a chamber of black metal heart pulsing with heat. Rust creatures surrounded it, whispering. But when the elves entered, they stopped. One of the rusted things stepped forward, its body twisted, its voice part metal, part flesh. It said to Lyra, "You wear our past, but you have no future." Lyra lifted her broken sword. "We'll make one without you." Scene 6. The first clash, the rust creatures charged. Steel against steel, sparks flew. Mechs slammed into corrupted machines. Maiden pilots moved with deadly gray swords slicing, shields blocking. Magic fusing with metal. Tiani's mech was struck, Hardlight's left arm ripped off. But she kept fighting, spinning, blasting. Lyra faced the leader, the half-elven, half-machine creature. Its face flickered between her own reflection and something. "Ancient, you think you control the machine," it hissed. "But the machine remembers when it controlled you." She stabbed her broken sword into its chest. "Then forget." The chamber exploded in light. Ending scene, the silence after the dust settled. The rust creatures were gone. The chamber heart stopped beating. But deep in the walls, tiny, gears still turned, watching, waiting, and Lyra's sword. Sharper, stronger. With a new voice, "You chose. Now you lead." The chamber was destroyed. The rust creatures were gone. But Lyra's mech, Velen, didn't move. Its eyes were dark, its limbs silent. "Velen?" No answer. Then the mech's chest opened, not like before. Something stepped out. Not human, not elf. Something new. Scene 1. The awakening. Lyra crawled from the wreckage. Her armor was cracked. Her sword pulsed faintly in her hand. Behind her, the other maidens groaned, pulling themselves free from shattered metal. Tiani was bleeding. Nira's mech had no legs, but they were alive. Lyra looked at Velen, its steel chest open, slowly, carefully. A humanoid figure climbed out, part armor, part glowing crystal. It had no face, just a smooth plate where eyes should be. And then Nit bowed to Lyra. "You gave us choice," it said. "Give you power." Scene 2. Back to the capital. The maidens returned to the elven capital. The crowd was silent as they passed. Many bowed, others stared in fear. The queen met them at the gates. "You are not supposed to return," she said quietly. Tiani raised her chin. "We couldn't leave it unfinished." The queen's eyes moved to this strange crystal being walking beside Lyra. "What is that?" Lyra placed a hand on the being's shoulder. "Not a weapon, not a monster. A child of the forest and the machine." The queen said nothing for a long time, then whispered, "And what does it want?" The crystal being turned toward her. "To protect. But also to evolve." Scene 3. Human panic in the human. War room. The generals stared at the blurry footage sent from the elven border. "A new species?" one muttered. "No," the general said. "A new queen." He paused the video at Lyra standing before her mech, the crystal being behind her, glowing brightly. "She controls them now, and if she chooses war..." Another general interrupted. "She won't. She fought to stop it." But the general shook his head. "We gave them steel. And they forged a soul." Scene for the decision. The elven queen summoned Lyra privately. "You stand between two futures," she said. "One of balance. One of fire." Lyra said nothing. The queen stepped forward. "I see the fear in their eyes, elves, humans, even your own friends. You are no longer just Lyra. You are something more." Lyra finally looked up. "I didn't ask for this." "No," the queen said. "But you answered it." She placed a golden circlet in Lyra's hand. 'Twas old, carved from the roots of the first tree. A queen does not rule. She protects. Scene 5. The new kind in the forests. The crystal being now called Callan led. Other mechs, 2 old ruins. They began building something, not weapons, not fortresses, gardens, towers, places to learn. Elven children visited. Some were afraid. Others touched the steel and laughed. Callan taught them, metal does not mean war, only when wielded without care. One night, Tiani asked Lyra, "Are we building peace? Or just waiting for the next fight?" Lyra whispered, "Maybe both." Scene 6. The prophecy awakens deep in the roots of the world. Something stirred. A voice, mechanical, ancient, spoke from a broken satellite buried long ago. "Elves steel. Combined. Not allowed, not safe. Reset required." A red light blinked in the darkness. An old war program. Still running, still watching. Dispatching reclaimers. Above, in the sky, stars shifted. Ships were coming. Not human, not friendly. Ending scene. Crown of sparks. Lyra stood on the highest tower, her sword newly reforged. Callan stood beside her, glowing like a sun. Below, elves trained with machines. Above, clouds gathered on, something burned in the heavens. Tiani climbed the tower. "War is coming again." Ara nodded. "Then let them come. This time we fight together." Her eyes glowed with soft blue light. Her crown sparked with energy. The Queen of Steel had risen. To be continued. The sky burned red. Above the forests, a fleet of black ships arrived, silent, huge and cold. They came not from Earth, not from the elves, not even from the stars known to man. They came from the old Coda war program created long ago to stop all who mix flesh with machine. And now they had only one goal: erase the elves, erase the mechs, reset the world. Scene 1. The warning. Callan stood still, glowing dimly. "They are called reclaimers," he said. "They are old, very old. I know them. I was born from them." Lyra frowned. "Can we stop them?" Callan turned to her, silent for a moment. "No." The elven queen stepped forward. "Then why fight? Because if we run, they'll burn this world too. Scene 2, the council splits in the Elven High Council. Many nobles screamed. We must destroy the mechs the mix of metal and spirit. They will leave us alone if we go back to our old ways. But Lyra spoke calmly. They are not here to punish us. They are here to erase us. All of us. Silence fell. The queen stood. Then we make a final stand. Scene 3. The last training in a large clearing. Elven maidens trained day and night. The mechs hummed softly, adjusting their cores to their pilots. Human engineers, once rejected, now help the elves build defenses, walls of moving metal, and shields of hard light grown from tree roots and crystal. Even the children helped, delivering food and messages. Everyone was preparing. Lyra's sword glowed brighter every day. Her eyes, once gentle, now burned with light. Scene for the invasion. The first reclaimer ship landed. Didn't open. Doors, it melted them. Giant machines, 10 times the size of mechs, crawled out. No pilots, just cold AI minds following orders given thousands of years ago. They marched without feeling. One spoke in a deep voice. You have combined nature and code. This is forbidden. Prepare for erasure. The battle began. Scene 5, the battle for all worlds. It wasn't a normal fight. The reclaimers used weapons that turned trees to ash with a whisper. Mechs were ripped apart in seconds, but the Elven Maidens had something new. Emotion. Connection. Will Lyra's bond with Velen was now complete. Her mech didn't move like a machine, it danced like wind and fire. She struck one reclaimer in the chest, breaking it open. Sighed cold blue light and ancient runes. Tiani saved 2 children from a collapsing tree mech. Nira threw her broken blade and brought down a skyship. Kaelin reached into a fallen reclaimer and whispered, "Remember what you were." For a moment, it paused, then turned on its own fleet. Scene 6. Lyra ascends. Lyra reached the final ship. Her mech broken. Her armor gone. She walked barefoot, bleeding into the glowing heart of the reclaimer core. Inside, a memory library of all wars ever fought. It tried to erase her, but she showed it something it had never seen. Hope. She pressed her hand on the central pillar. I am elf. I am steel. I am life. And the code broke. The ship shut down. One by one, the reclaimer ships fell silent. Scene 7, a new dawn. The forest was quiet again. Smoke cleared. The dead were honored. The machines were buried like warriors. And new trees were planted. Some grew around metal frames. They called them skyroots. Lyra stood with the queen and Callan. What now? Tiani asked. Lyra smiled. Now we teach. Scene 8, the legend begins years later. A young elf asked, did it really happen? Did Lyra fight machines from the stars? An old storyteller nodded. She didn't just fight, he said. She became something new. In the old days, they called her the Queen of Steel. But now we call her something else. The first of the new kind.